Don't feel fucking to me. Don't feel fucking to me.
Here is the Stormtrooper helmet. I'll put it up in the corner. It's like Tiang PLA purple filament. And this is how many pieces it is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 pieces altogether. There we go, that's better light. That one makes it look more purple too. So, that's the back. And the top. All around. And in this light it changes colors, it's pretty legit. Pinkish purple. Purple. Blue. Purple. Pink. That's funny. So that's what it looks like with just the filament. There's the inside. You can see that I've got some baking soda and stuff on here because there's a few spots that I needed it to hold a little bit stronger. And baking soda basically makes it like a rock. It's like welding the two pieces together. That's the strongest piece out of this whole. You know, if you were to just put two pieces together and glue them together with baking soda and super glue, it's going to break in a different spot than its line, you know, so. Alright, so I put Bondo all over it, just the regular in a paint can style Bondo, and sanded it all down. First using 60 grit to get all the big parts because I put big globs along the seams to kind of sand it down and get the sanding started. Then I moved to 80 grit and then 120 grit and then 220 grit. I'm going to go ahead and add what I like to do after my first deal of Bondo and sanding is I like to spray paint it, get one unified color and all the imperfections. Like I can already see a couple of them. There's a spot here that still needs to be sanded. Some spots up in here. I think there was, yeah, right down in there. You know, just some really hard spots to get with sandpaper. They'll really come out when it's all one unified color. And then I'll sand it all the way back down, almost all the way back down to the filament. See, now that I've got it one unified color, some of the parts where the filament lines really stick out, and go in there and focus on smoothing those. From here on out, I'm not going to use anything higher than a 220 grit sandpaper. So any of these spots where you still see a little bit of lines and stuff, all that'll be gone because they're not that deep at all. Few uniform sprayings, and I'm just using a regular spray paint. So it's just whatever I had that wasn't working. So there's no particular reason why it's black. It's just the extra spray paint that I had. And I don't worry about how many layers, just kind of put it on thick and then let it dry. And like I said, from here on out, 220 grit. And then, you know, after this, I'll probably use a working spray paint can so I know how many layers I'm on. Do one layer at a time while wet sanding. And just keep doing that until it gets completely smooth. The bonding only took about a day. You know, I bondoed it last night and I sanded it today, so it's not too bad. I don't see any spots where I'm going to need any extravagant amounts of Bondo. That line's a little bit thicker than the other one, so I may need to sand that down to the filament and put Bondo. There's looks like a real thick filament line there that I need to probably get with a little bit of Bondo putty or something. I think from here on out it's just going to be wet sanding, and like I said, a couple spots for Bondo putty, and that's it. I don't know why, but this is something that I really like to do. I like to take either brilliant silver or brilliant gold, and you can see real close, they have gold flakes in it and silver flakes in the spray paint itself. So those flakes act like a filler when this dries, and I actually go in here and wet sand this. So I take this and I put it in the sink. I get a 220 grit sandpaper and I start to sand this. And it seems like when you spray this on, you know, especially parts like this, the silver flakes go into the 3D filament lines, and it takes way less sanding, way less wet sanding to get it smooth than I've ever had with primer filler. Primer filler, I always spray it on, sand it down, spray it on again, sand it down, spray it on another time, sand it down. But this, I can put this gold on real thick, and this could be the only time. I mean, there's a few spots like right up in here, and you know, along these areas that I didn't put Bondo in that, you know, I may need to come back to. But for the most part, you know, just a second ago before I sprayed, all this area right here was showing filament lines. This area right here was showing filament lines, and I sprayed this on thick. Now when I sand that on, this is going to be smooth, that's going to be smooth, up here is going to be smooth. You know, it's not going to show. You can see a line right there and a line right here. That's not even going to show after this one time sanding. Okay, so I know you guys seen it gold last. I forgot to turn on my camera and record. But all I did was I sanded the gold down. You know, I sprayed it really heavy, and there's a few drippy spots. So I basically just sanded it and sanded it and sanded it until all those drippy spots were even. Not necessarily just going after any deep parts or anything. Just basically sanded it and sanded it and sanded it until everything was basically felt flush and smooth. You know, there was parts where the filament was showing through and parts where it wasn't. You know, just kind of randomized. And then I put the first coat of white on it, and it was a huge difference. And once the white went on, all that was really left was like small imperfections and stuff. And so I really focused on those on the next round of wet sanding, and that's all it took. Now this is the white base coat that I just got done with. This is the actual finalized base coat. I just put these pieces on, so I haven't worked on those at all. I just now put them on so you can still see the 3D lines and stuff in them, those little ear pieces. I still haven't put the parts down in the front. I think I got it super smooth. I know it's dark out here right now, but I'm going to try to zoom in. You can see just how smooth this thing is. Really smooth. I love that gold paint, and I love this white paint. So if you're ever wet sanding and stuff, and you don't want to use Bondo, or you don't want to use filler primer, I suggest, man, I don't know what it is about that gold, but it primers really well. I'm going to take this inside once it dries, and I'm going to hit this with about a 320 grit sandpaper real lightly all over it, just everything, just making sure everything's even. And then I'm going to start taping it up and probably doing the black, figuring out how I do the blue lines on it, start doing some little bit of detail work. So it's a real good looking helmet so far. I love it. And what I really like about this is it's the only one that has, you can see that it's see-through right here in the vents. It's because you can wear a little black mask thing for it, and then it makes it black in the background. But it allows your breath to go out the front instead of fogging up your eyes. So I'll leave the link in the description for this, guys, because if you get a helmet that has vents in the front next to your face, print that one. These are dry. I'll take this off one hand because I don't have my camera stand on me. You can see how I lift that over. So it's really not that rounded. I'm gonna have to go in here and hand paint around the corners. Unless it looks good. It's supposed to be like a grill type thing, like a grid. So I don't think it's supposed to be 100% perfectly circular. Alright, so I got her all taped up. Now I'm gonna do black first. Because this part's black, that part's black. And then these have black lines in it. This has black lines. I think this might just be gray, and the ones that, but each one of these are outlined in black. So what you can do is tape these up, spray paint them black, right? And then when you come back, you move the tape in just a little bit more, and then you've got a black outline around it that's real nice and professional looking, and you don't have to go in there and paint it. So that's why I'm painting all these parts black first. Then I'll go back in and tape them up and do them gray. And then on these parts that have the lines, I'll tape the lines in, move this line in a little bit, that way I have a black outline, and then I have the black stripes. So that's how I'll tape it. Well, I was trying a different tape out, and I think I just taped poorly. So I'm going to come in here with some acrylic and do a little bit of cleanup here. Most of this I was able to get, like there's a big spot right there on the side, and then there's that spot on the back. Most of it I was able to get through sanding. You know, just take a 320 grit sandpaper and sand it, which is a fairly easy process, but I know that here in the front it wasn't that thickly painted. And two, I just don't want to sand all the way through. It's just easier to do it like this. The bigger parts that are way out in the open, you don't want to take acrylic, because you can see it slightly, I did this part right here on purpose just so you guys can see. It's slightly a different color. And if you do up and under here, once the gloss goes on, the final coat of gloss, you're not going to be able to see little tiny spots unless you really, really look for them. And so the bigger pieces that are out in the open, it's better to go in it and sand it, get it down to like a smaller point. And I don't think this worked out how I wanted it to work. And there it is. It's good. So anyways, I'm gonna go through here and do some touch-ups with, like I said, with the acrylic. And then I'm gonna tape it back up and get ready to do gray. Alright, so now I'm gonna do the gray, and you won't be able to see, I don't think, on the side here. But I took a picture in case you can't see. This has, let me see if I can get a shot. Yeah. These two have pinstriping taped down them. I did the black purposefully first. Then I placed pinstriping over here for the stripes. And then you can see that the tape comes down a bit so you can see the black underneath the tape. That will create an outline, a black outline around it.
Oh yeah, come on!
Now you can see those pinstripes. This is starting to get some paint on it. So I've already painted it black today, and I didn't give it 24 hours to set. So what I'm doing is going light. Don't pack in the color. Just kind of go light over it. Plus, when you go light, then it does less splashback. So there are some open spots, like you can see right there in the tape. It's a little open. There's little tiny itty bitty areas. Less extra work that I have to do afterwards, touching those parts up. I went ahead and did pinstriping on the back here just to kind of see what it would look like. And I think it looks rather good. Kind of wish I would have just did pinstriping on the front. But I still think it looks good. I went ahead and did pinstriping around here because some of the lines weren't that good. I put pinstriping up the side here and on the side there just to make it a little bit better. This is one of the regular painted lines. The lines back here, I mean, they're not bad, but they're not professional. You know, they're not the greatest. You got some, from a distance they look really good, but when you get up close and actually start looking at it, you know, it's thin in spots and thick in spots, so I might go back over that with pinstriping because it just looks so much better. Look how even that looks there and how even that looks. Then compare it to this side, which doesn't have pinstriping on it. So I don't know. I might just have pinstriping in some areas. I need to fix that up. So I didn't want to put you through this entire process. Basically all I did is took the pinstriping tape stuff and put it along here and along this side and did the best I could, really. I find that when it comes to the tape is porous and it's not as good as the plastic. I think it's made out of plastic, latex, something like that, of the pinstriping. And so I get better lines with the pinstriping and stuff. So I decided to go with the pinstriping to make the blue lines because less leaks through it. And I'm hoping that that works. I tried to do some measurements and stuff and tried to do it a specific way. But in the end, it's I don't know, it's a learning process right now, and if it comes out real terrible, then I'll obviously have to take a different approach to it, but for now, I think it looks pretty good for now. So here's what I'm making the eyepieces out of here. Same stuff. I'm only taping it in because I do have to get some different plastic. This blue is so hard to see through. I mean, even if I put it on here, you can only see the light in my other room. I mean, this is some real dark stuff with that blue. So it's basically just this plastic stuff here. I went in and traced one of the eyes. You can see the trace there, making sure that I stayed away from the edges because I didn't want to get any permanent marker on the edges because it's all white. So I gave it plenty of room. That's why I cut so far around it, and I ended up actually making a perfect template, like it fit perfectly right in the thing. And so I put it on, and then just cut around, and then I turned it over and cut another one. And then put both of those pieces in. And it looks really, really good. Really good. They don't pop out, you know, like a lot of the props do. Some of the other helmets and everything. It looks pretty good. It's, believe it or not, it's almost done. Plus, not only is it taped in because I have to get different plastic, but it's also taped in because I have to pop them back out whenever I do the clear coat. So basically I gotta come in here and all these little spots that I fixed, I have to sand it with 320 grit sandpaper, and once I get all those pieces sanded out and smooth, I've got a spot I need to fix right over here. You can see that obvious. I had to put some paint there because I had a little bit of wash under. I don't typically have that whenever I'm using this tape, but when I was taking it up, that little spot happened, and there's another one over here. I gotta fix those two parts. And then that little spot there, I'm gonna get some gray on. But other than that, I gotta debate this here because I think, see, I used the big pieces. This tape comes with 2 different size lines. Pinstripe tape comes with 2 different size lines, and I used the big ones. You can see that I used the big line, but I think it might look better with that little black line right there instead of the big one. Also on the back, I used the big ones as well. I think that looks fine. I actually used pinstriping for these ones. I put the pinstriping over and then put the pinstriping around so I could kind of see what that looks like. And I think it looks really good and professional. These ones here, right here, and here, I just laid the pinstriping on it and then painted over it with the gray and then took the pinstriping off. And I mean, you can't really tell the difference between that and that. I mean, they basically look the same. So I'm debating. I may do this, so if you guys see this with the bigger ones, then I'm leaving it that way for now. But I am going to repaint this. My plan is to repaint this. I'm going to do the original Star Wars Stormtrooper. Then I'm either going to build another one, or I'm just going to repaint this one. But I want to do a custom paint job. If you go on Google, look up Stormtrooper custom paint, and they have some really awesome ones there. And whenever I was doing it, I got a really good idea for a men's club that I'm in. And I was like, I want to make one of those really, really badly. So I have decided that I'm going to repaint it. And I think it'll look pretty good whenever I do. That's basically it. I mean, I just got to put the shine on it. Put the shine on.